Good morning, church family. What's that in your hand? What gifts, what talents has God given you? Or maybe you, like me, feel you simply don't have what it takes. I have found myself over the years saying that if only I had more time, if only I had more money, if only I had more energy, if only I had more people to help me, I could do so much more for God. But God has shown me over the years that when I focus on what I don't have, He actually wants me to focus on what I do have. God has used the story of Moses to shift my focus, to teach me a very important lesson. In Exodus 4 verse 2, there's a very important question that God asks Moses. And the question says, "Hey Moses, what's that in your hand?" And when God asked Moses this question, the only thing in Moses' hand was a shepherd's staff. It was just a crude piece of wood, a wooden staff that he no doubt had been using to tend his flocks of sheep for the last 40 years. But when God asked this question, he was actually commissioning Moses for the daunting task of delivering over 1 million Israelites from slavery in Egypt. Do you see how powerful this message is for you and for me? Like Moses, we are being called to do great things for him. Yet too often we think that we lack some important resource or ingredient for us to be successful. But notice how God wasn't asking Moses to give him something that he didn't already have. Instead, he asked Moses, as he is asking you and me today, what is in your hand? When Moses surrendered that ordinary piece of wood, his staff, into God's hand, it amazingly became the rod of God. And we read that in Exodus 4 verse 20. No longer a mere piece of wood, this staff enabled Moses to part the Red Sea, to bring water out of the rock, and to defeat enemy armies. So go ahead, give God what you've been holding on to. What's that in your hand? Do you have a house? Or maybe during these COVID restrictions, I should say, do you have a carport? God wants to take it and make it a place of ministry, a place of peace by filling it with people in need of hospitality. Do you have a spouse? God wants to make you a powerful partnership in prayer. Do you have children? Do you have grandchildren? God wants you to fully give them from your hands and have them rest fully in his hands. And in doing so, they can fully be used by him. If this means a short term or a life term of a full-time missions work, do all you can do to support, believe in them, encourage them in this decision. So what's in your hand? Do you have a skill? God wants to enrich lives and actually enrich his church with that skill. You know, this past summer when Rod and I led the missions team to Zambia, it was so beautiful to see Ashley and to see Megan freely sharing their crafting skills with the Tabitha ladies. They definitely enriched those ladies' lives. Do you have a voice? God wants to use that voice to share his love and his forgiveness. I had an experience a number of weeks back where God asked me to use my voice. I just made a trip into Saskatoon to buy supplies for the family Easter bags that we were making here at church to give out curbside. Maybe you were one of those families who picked up one of those bags on Palm Saturday. And if you did, you'll remember that inside of the bag, there were individual sized 5 Alive juice boxes. And over the 5, we had a little sticker that said, "Jesus is alive." Well, my plan was to stop at Costco and pick up the juice boxes. But as I approached the Costco intersection coming into Saskatoon, I was struggling as I looked over and I could see, yes, a lineup. I actually had a bad attitude and I didn't want to navigate Costco that morning. Before I had to make the turn, though, I heard the whisper of God. And he said, "Go to a Shoppers Drug Mart instead." I felt doubt. And I remember I literally said out loud in my vehicle, right, as if I'm going to find enough of what I need at a Shoppers Drug Mart, God. But in obedience, I didn't turn into Costco. I kept driving and I went to a Shoppers Drug Mart. As I walked in, the young clerk behind her plexiglass shield with a big smile on her face said, "Good morning, and what are you here looking for today?" I'm sure there was some doubt evident on my face. I said I need 150 5 Alive juice boxes, personal size. Her answer, "Oh, we do have those, and this morning they went on sale." Well, I filled my cart and I was praising the Lord. And I think as I walked to the till, I'm pretty sure there was a pretty big smile evident on my face. And the clerk was looking. I could tell this gal of about 25 years old was looking in this cart with all these juice boxes. And she said, "Do you mind if I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." Why are you buying all those? Why are you smiling? And who are they for? And I was excited because she asked, and I was excited about the project we were working on at church, and I just tumbled out. I said, "Oh, we're buying all these juice boxes because we're making these family experience Easter bags for the children and the families in our churches, and the kids with this box are going to be reminded when we put a sticker over the word 5, Jesus is alive." And as I was saying the word alive, I realized that my voice was trailing down, and I looked down and doubt set in, and I was like, she doesn't probably even care. She doesn't need to hear. But then I looked back up at her and my eyes caught grip with hers. And I realized that her smile had disappeared and she had a very questioning face. And she said, "I don't get that. I've heard that phrase before, Jesus is alive. I don't get that." Well, at that moment, the hand of my heart opened. And I said, "If you have time, I can share what Jesus is alive means." In a bit of a sarcastic voice, she said, "Well, look over your shoulder, ma'am. There's absolutely no one in the lineup behind you." And when I looked over my shoulder, almost hoping to see someone, there was no one. In fact, there was no one else in that store but her and I. And I was able to share God's incredible love for her. I was able to share how he loves me. I shared a bit of my story. I shared what Jesus going to the cross means for her, for me. I shared of Jesus' forgiveness and what it means for us for eternity when we say Jesus is alive. Oh, friends, what do you have in your hands? He wants to take what is in your hands, your time, talent, skills, money, your interest, your influence, and he wants to touch lives through those hands. He wants to use you to impact others for eternity. So one last time, what is in your hand?